Okay, so in today's video, I'm about to go on a anniversary trip to Jamaica with my wife, and I just thought I'd show what stationary items and YouTube-ish items that I'm packing with me for the trip. You can see here it says everything kind of put together out of the main backpack that it'll go in. So I'll just take you on a quick trip through what all is going and what its purpose is and what the plan is. So let's take a look. Okay, so to start, I'm just not even going to really go through much of this. This is all related to if I make a video, which I want to try and do at least one of doing some writing or something like that while there. But a small tripod, a power bank, my microphones, and then this is what my phone and camera case fit into. That's what I make all my videos on. So that's what all this is. So that's, I don't need to really go into details on that. If you have interest, let me know and maybe I'll put up a post or more detailed. But non-stationary but important Kindle. I plan to do some reading, get caught up on something I don't do enough of while on the beach or in the resort. You've seen this bag as a favorite stationary accessory before, but this is more for my laptop. It's got my mouse, my external hard drive will go in here once I'm done recording, and little things like that. A power adapter, that's just, more laptop care and feeding type stuff. And then this is in that same vein. This is actually the 1 liter version of this bag. And it is the same type of thing. Travel charger, small tripod, watch charger, extra phone cords, extra USB-C cords. So nothing stationary specific, but stuff that'll go in the bag nonetheless. That's kind of necessary evils for everything. So let me put this all away, clear up, and get to the stationary items. Okay, and one other thing I forgot in the non-stationary, my AirPod Maxes, the new noise canceling on these is wonderful, especially on planes or with a lot of background noise. So I use those all the time, especially if editing or just wanting to not hear background noise. So I'm a big fan of packing a bag inside of a bag. I like to have stuff kind of together, and that's what I plan to do with my rickshaw. It fits in my backpack really well. So just in the outside here, I've got my little to-do list packing card with the Natsu cards in it, and then my passport goes in there. And then inside, got pen case. I've got my Galen, and I'll open these up and show you what's inside, but just to kind of get through the high level, my water bottle, which is the A5 memo bottle, which I recently showed in the rickshaw video. A roll of washi tape. And then, so that's my book weight, which I use for holding pages open. That's from Evergoods. Sorry, it's from Good Made Better. I keep getting those companies confused. So just plain washi tape. There's a lot of uses for this. I saw someone the other day that used some to hold the power adapter into the plug on an airplane. And I thought that was really smart. So thought I'd throw that in. That's some well-appointed desk ink bottles that I got complimentary of Vanessa. They were handing these out to everybody at the Arkansas Pen Show. So in terms of paper, I'm taking my Nemesine Clyde with the grid paper just to have that for notes and sketching and whatnot. And then I'm taking the Kikuyo Soft Ring notebook. I've been trying it out, doing some initial testing in there. So I want to put it through some more paces before I do a video specifically on that, but I figured that was a good one to take that packs down small and it's lighter because of the plastic rings. So, I look forward to using that. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far with the paper. So in my Galen A5, I have my normal journal, and then the pins that are in here, I have the Pilot Coletto 1000 multi-pin, my I just blanked on it's the Odo CR01 rollerball. And I thought it was appropriate since I'm going to the Caribbean to take my Twisby in Caribbean Blue with Onyx. And then I have my Esterbrook Raven. And then I have a Traveler's book clip down here that I use that on top of the hardcover journal just to hold the pages open. So that kind of and then the one other pen that needs to be filled before I put it in here is I'm taking my Newton Prospector. I've been really enjoying writing with that, with the Kodachi grind on it from Matthew Chan. And then in terms of other pins, what I selected is I have my Diplomat Arrow, and then most of my fountain pens that I'm taking are actually vac fillers because they can be closed off. So I'm taking my Opus 88 Omar, my Opus 88 Demo, and then my Pilot 823. And then this is just another little brass roller ball that I had that I actually put when I get to the video about changing inserts, you can change inserts around on these, and I think I'm going to end up taking out the regular Pilot G2 and putting in one of the Monteverde needlepoint refills that I have. I just like that it writes with a smaller line, but this is normally the keep in my pocket on the airplane, if you have to fill out the immigration forms and whatnot on some trips. So I have it in here for now so I don't forget it, because I'm sure waiting at the airport I'll have this out, while we're killing time waiting for the plane and whatnot. So those are the stationary, and then the other couple of things I'm going to show are stationary adjacent. It's actually the watercolor supplies that I'm going to be taking with me. So let me get this cleared away and grab all that. Okay, so I know this is not stationary specific, but there are a lot of fountain pen people who are into watercolors. That's kind of what got me into it. It's something I plan to, I'm not the biggest beach person, so this is going to give me something to do while at the beach. Kind of a mix. So to start with this. This is a Lockbee tool roll. And in here, I have my other multi-pin. And this is the big reason I got this. It's got the ballpoint pins and the mechanical pencil. So that's the pencil I have. I've got a couple of water brushes, a masking brush, a small ruler, 3 micron pins. These are travel watercolor brushes that, if you're not familiar, they kind of unscrew. And then you can get an actual full-size brush, which is nice for packing and obviously travel. That's their name. And they fit in this roll really well. And then these are just the swatches I've done of the colors that I have in the little palette. For reference, if you're painting something, you know kind of what you're doing. And then for the actual watercolors themselves, this is an artist toolkit. I don't remember the actual name of the pan. I'll put a link in the, it's the Folio palette. Apparently it has it marked on the back here. Folio palette. But I like this because these are mixing trays, but all of these are metallic. They're all magnetic. So they stick down to the base, so you don't have to worry about the paint coming out. And you can also use this entire top as a mixing palette. And I've used this a couple of times so far, and it cleans off really well. So, and it packs down so much smaller. I actually got initially a Winsor & Newton kind of travel thing first, and it was just so big, it took up tons of space. And then the other thing I have in here is just 2 different erasers. I got one of each type before I started doing this. So both of these are just in here. So, and that rolls up, actually folds, I guess is a better term, nice and small. So that's everything, aside from paper, that's needed for watercolor in there. So that's nice that packs down small. You can get it rolled up and then pull that to cinch it. So, very compact. And then this is the other bag, and this is an Utlim, and I believe it's a Japanese bag. And I saw a random suggested YouTube video the other day when I was packing, and this has a similar theme to it as the one from Evergoods. It's magnetic, so when you open it up, it's magnetic and it'll sit upright on the desk. So that, I thought that was pretty cool. But here I have a small 3x5, watercolor paper book for doing, small things. Because that's one advice I've seen on a lot of things is start smaller and then work bigger. And then this is just a 300 gram cold press 6x9 inch watercolor paper, just to have something that I can, a little bit bigger than that, and I can pull off an individual sheet. All these sheets will come off. So that's nice as I'm trying to learn. So I'm not, sometimes I've found so far in trying to paint in this with the cover, it kind of gets in the way. I do have another traveler's clip in here that I use to kind of hold that down, but it's part of the learning process. I'm trying to learn different things at once. I've got 2 rolls of smaller than normal masking tape. I think this is 9mm width, and I think this is like 13 or something like that. And you use that to tape paper down to like a surface if you're painting on it, so it doesn't crinkle up when it gets wet. I have an Asvine box that just has a piece of paper towel in it, and you use that to dip your brushes on to clean them off or dry them off before going on your paper. I found the Asvine box is great because you can store stuff in it, and also as you're drying off the brushes, they don't get your desk wet, because I did that the first couple of times. So that's everything in there. And then my other masking pen for where you mask off, because on watercolor, the white is the paper. So you can use that to put on the paper, paint over it, and then you kind of rub it off. It's almost like rubber cement of sorts, and that'll leave white underneath. So that way you're not painting over, some of the... It's necessary to do some things you want to do in some paintings. A small spray bottle that you use to kind of spray on the paints to activate them on your palette when you get started. My other eraser, which is like a gum eraser. 2 little plastic pipettes that you can use for drops of water for putting on for when you're mixing on the little palettes. And then since I had the room, I have those travel brushes, but these are the other brushes that I have, just the student grade Winsor Newton from Michaels. So starting nice, something that's, I'm used to these a little bit more than the travel brushes, so since it didn't take up really any space, I mean, if you think about that. And then I also have one of the glass mixing rods that I got from Olive Octopus Inc., Lisa, depending on how you know her. And that's just handy too for mixing and whatnot. It's amazing all the uses you find for little things like this that you didn't know you needed. But that covers all the watercolor stuff as well. So, the only things not in all of this are my laptop and my external hard drive. And then that's pretty much it. So all in all, it packs down pretty small for everything that's going with me. It's going to give me plenty of stuff to do because I'm not one who... I can relax to a point, but then I also have to be doing things to kind of keep my mind going. So look forward to spending some time doing the watercolor and playing around with that while on the trip. So let me get all this set aside and we'll kind of wrap this up and go from there. Okay, so that's going to wrap up this look of what all stationery items I'm taking on my trip. I know this is not my normal video style, but I thought it was interesting as I was packing and going through my pen case of deciding what pens do I actually want to use, do I think I'll use or do I want to use on this trip. So I thought I'd share that, because that is something that comes into play when you have all these stationery items, of choosing what's going to go with you wherever you're going. And when you're adding in flying and traveling internationally, that also adds into the potential risk or complexity, or if you want simplicity and things like that. And then also, this will be my first time adding on the watercolor stuff, so it was a little bit different for me, but it does all still fit in my normal backpack. So that's the main thing, having less to carry when you actually get there, so that you don't have to worry about. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see new videos as they're released, and thanks for watching.